your own like demiurgic prison.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Hello, mystics. Welcome back.
Oh wow.
We're frozen.
There we go.
No, there we are. Hello, welcome back. Welcome back. It's lovely to see you. What's been going on with us then?
I played a gig.
Yeah. Jake has been busy doing the musician thing around London.
Played a gig on Friday at this place called the London Night Cafe that was really, really dope and yeah, really cool.
I couldn't go though because I was tired and I'm 31 now. Like I'm too old to be.
You're a grandma in your soul already.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's the problem.
Pretty
much.
that,
like I've entered my drum and bass phase, and you've entered your grandma phase.
Yeah, chamomile tea.
Which.
Not that I couldn't go, but it's like if I'm working on the same day as there's something going on, I feel like I'm at the age where I can't do both now.
Yeah, you just got to get some assistance.
Even with assistance, I find it really difficult to like stay energetic like all night long.
I actually am Dr. Feelgood, bro. I have like absolutely wizarded my own limits and everything, and I know I got the perfect recipe for that because
the cocktail for staying up all night.
Yeah, because like I was performing at 2 a.m.
Yeah, which is why I was like, I'm not coming.
That's like that's like a very specific level of both like high and awake that you need to be able to kind of do it well. And I think and I got it absolutely nailed, bro. I went for a fat coffee at 6:30 in the evening. And that kept me going pretty solidly until I needed my assistance. And then after my assistance, it was all blessed.
Even after you got back home, you wouldn't let me rest. So. Yeah. What else? I've finished my book kind of. Yay! Now. I handed in the last little bit of it. So that's happened and I'm really happy about that.
That's good.
It's just editing.
I'm very happy for you.
Thank you.
It's a very big achievement.
Thank you very much.
You should feel very proud of yourself.
Thank you very much. You're the first person who said that to me, so thank you very much for that. It's been crazy just like weaving it around all of my other responsibilities and stuff, so I'm like really relieved to be close to the end now. I know you are as well, because like we've had to put wedding plans off and all sorts of stuff off.
It's just I didn't want to stress you out. You're already stressed out enough, so I didn't want to overwhelm you, you know.
But now we've got a big wedding to plan. We've been looking at venues and stuff. I want a castle. That's what I want deep down in my heart.
Wow. There we go.
Is a castle. Or like one of those like Downton Abbey like manor type things. You said you wanted a boat.
Like a riverboat gambling wedding, yeah.
We have a completely different completely different vibe of what we want going on.
It'd be great.
The reason it's been stressing me out is because it's going to be pretty chaotic. Like I have to factor in your wacky influences. My like Nigerian family.
I'm not going to have any wacky influences on the wedding. The only wacky influence I want is the majority control of the music.
Playlist. Yeah.
Food, I'm willing to make whatever concessions needed to be culturally suitable and whatever else you need. I'm fully aware that we can't probably do all fully what I want in that regard.
No, sorry.
So that's fine.
Sorry. But the music you can definitely have control of, as long as you let me have a few suggestions in there.
You can have a few songs.
A few suggestions. But yeah, anyway, moving into today's topics. Yeah, so, you know, there's constant crisis happening in the world right now. And one of the many geopolitical crises going on is the fact that Europe seems to be breaking away from America now. And one of the things that, you know, I found really interesting about this like weird breakup is the cyber security aspect of it, and the fact that, you know, European leaders are now having conversations surrounding the internet in ways they haven't before. because of like the fear of like America's political influence. And I think that in some ways that's a good thing, but in some ways that's like a negative thing. You were talking about earlier how no matter what anyone tries to do to fix the internet, they're probably just going to make it worse.
That is my gut feeling.
Same here.
That's my genuine gut
Same
feeling.
here.
Is that like, you know, even kind of all the seeming progression of the internet has actually been somewhat of a regret. Oh dear.
We're frozen again. Oh.
Hang on. Sorry.
2 seconds, sorry. Technical difficulties.
I think it's most because my phone's on low bat. And this
fuck.
keeps... oh, no, it's not. It's plugged in. Oh, no. It's just being a silly.
Uh-oh. If you can still hear us. Oh, hello. Hi. Sorry. What were you saying?
Yeah, my genuine gut feeling is that it's whatever they do, it's going to be worse.
Yeah.
Because even the sort of seeming progression of the internet, I feel like everybody laments how the internet was better back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And even though seemingly it is better somewhat, that people are kind of conglomerated on some websites, etc., the kind of incentives for those websites and the sorts of things that they do to like keep you on them is becoming more apparent, and it's more disgusting, and just like people are kind of sick of it. And I think that people didn't really know how to deal with it almost 10 years ago when it kind of broke with the Cambridge Analytica sort of Facebook scandal around Brexit and all of that kind of stuff. But I think that a lot of like pretty solid research has been done to show that Brexit essentially wouldn't have happened if the interference from Cambridge Analytica didn't exist.
Yeah.
And it's the sort of like hyper propagandized digital campaigns that people are able to make almost like fairly sort of more personal than just, oh, you're a man in this area of the country, or you're a man of this age bracket, or whatever. It's kind of even down to your your history, your internet history, and your other ways to kind of put you into more refined buckets, basically, of demographics, and then like hyper propagandized to you specifically. To sort of really push the buttons in the way that they wanted society to go, basically. And then that all kind of just disappeared, and then it was like, oh, well, that was bad, wasn't it? I'm assuming that they don't do that with any other topic that could be contentious within society or around any other election or since then, because we caught them, and that was it. And even though nobody went to prison, and I don't think really anybody received any, maybe we should give that a little Google on the side whilst you
What if anyone went to prison?
Yeah, because that was like, it was such a fucking huge scandal. They basically like were the first people to really be caught almost red-handed, basically digitally manipulating a massive election in a developed Western country.
But then after that, in the wake of that, you had, the 2020 election where the Democrats openly admitted to working with Silicon Valley in order to, using social media platforms in order to sort of ensure that Trump wouldn't win the election. Trump was also kicked off of social media as well. During that time, he was kicked off of Twitter. And now you have similar kind of censorship coming from the Trump, from X, which is obviously dominated by Elon Musk as well. So it's the same playbook, really, just being utilized by all of these different people. Did you find it?
So, yeah, but it's interesting because it's seeming... Was a data breach linked to the process? So, it's kind of confusing because I thought Cambridge Analytica was essentially like a sort of, Oh no, so they did. They paid like $500,000 fines, and then Facebook did end up paying nearly $1 billion in a settlement in 2022.
Wow.
But there's still a little bit of skin off a duck's back, isn't it? Water for a duck's back, isn't it, for Facebook?
It's chump change for them to pay these like fines. And the thing is, the reason why European leaders are freaking out now in this whole sort of big breakup thing is because of the sheer amount of influence that X had over the last election, and the fact that Elon Musk's purchase of X was able to sort of influence the political zeitgeist.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that European leaders are obviously concerned about is how X is now also influencing the European political zeitgeist as well, and things along those lines. And I mean, some of the measures that they're trying to put in to prevent said interference are quite draconian. But at the same time, this is a really unprecedented, chaotic kind of
Well, we'll play this clip of this.
deluge.
Play this clip of this lady on this British radio show
Yeah.
where she's sort of talking about some of this stuff. Oh, it's. I think OBS has been a little biatch today.
Temperamental today.
So hang on a
What the
sec.
fuck's going on?
There we go.
There we go.
The first rules that our Parliament set out a little while ago actually come into action. And what that means is that all the work that we've done to set out what they mean in practice, to put the flesh on the bones of the law, starts to take reality. And so what we're doing right now is gearing up. We've been doing this for a while so that we can really get into enforcement action. And we're going to be sending, some pretty clear letters to a whole range of companies asking them what they're doing to implement what we've set out. And if we don't hear what we want to hear, then we shall start to move into, tougher enforcement action, which can lead to some pretty serious fines.
You're seeking to obviously restrict and limit harmful content. Define harmful content.
So what the law does is it says that content that's illegal, so that's things like terrorist material, also abusive images of children and so on, that must just not be allowed on platforms. And if anything gets through, it needs to be taken down quickly. But it's also very clear that our under 18s deserve a very different experience than the one they're getting now. So no pornography, no suicide and self-harm material, and significant down-ranking of things like violent content, misogyny, racist content, and so on. So it's a pretty broad, I should say, it's very ambitious what the UK is trying to do here. No one should be under any illusions about that.
Well, it is ambitious, and I want to make you aware of the scale of the challenge, because as part of an LBC investigation, we've been speaking to people such as Nikki Knight. Now, Nikki is the mother of a young man who was murdered in Bristol last year. Dame Melanie, she told us.
My son's killer is still online, on his social media, on his Instagram account, still doing rap videos about what he's done. I actually think it's disgusting. This is the thing, I don't get told. So I do not get told that this person is actually still making videos of my son's murder. I don't get told. No one even tells me. And I'm just a mother.
Now, tragically, she's not alone. There's a number of jailed murderers recording videos like this and contacting their victims' families on social media. You're coming fresh to this. What are you going to do?
Look, I'm so sorry to hear about that, and so sorry for her loss as well. Did you say he's in jail, this young man?
They send these videos from jail, and he's not alone.
Fundamentally, that's a question, I think, for the prison authorities as much as anyone else. But it's also, very clear that if content is illegal, then it should not be online in future.
That's it, you regulate the online.
Exactly.
Is this something you would go after?
They have to be part of this. Well, look, I'd have to know the details of it. And as I say, it's very shocking to hear that someone's imprisoned and still able to cause harm like that. I think that is a really serious concern. But we'd need to know exactly what it is that he's putting online, and whether if it falls foul of if it's illegal, then clearly it should not be on social media or anywhere else. So it is something that you would
potentially investigate?
We would certainly, I'd certainly want to have a look at that and see where it could, come in.
So, I mean, what she's saying about there is, like, if it's illegal, then it will come under the remit of this new watchdog or group or committee or
By Ofcom.
governmental force.
It's Ofcom, which
Ofcom.
is like the official kind of UK regulation
Broadcast
body.
regulation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ofcom is trying to sort of step more deeply into the realm of online mediation. Prior, Ofcom was where people complained about, like, TV shit and BBC.
Yeah, if someone
shit.
said shit a bit too early on one of the 5 channels before it all went satellite and crazy internet and stuff.
Ofcom was the people who would come in with the big sticks. And I mean, I've worked in journalistic establishments before, and they're constantly afraid of Ofcom there. Mm-hmm. And now, in the UK, Ofcom is attempting to sort of encroach into the online domain. And I mean, the concerns that they're talking about are really real. in terms of like child exploitation material, the impact on teen mental health. But at the same time, Ofcom has also been notoriously sketchy in the way that they've attempted to enforce certain regulations. So I don't necessarily feel super comfortable about the idea of Ofcom stepping in to regulate the internet.
It's also interesting that, like, those are the two things that she sort of partners together. Something that would, in fairly no uncertain terms, be considered broad and skeptical whether what the purpose of like sexually explicit, content like that would be online, versus something that would be deemed terroristic by the government, which is essentially the most broad fucking thing possible.
Yeah.
And so the reason that she says those two things together, because they're both very bad things, but they're both defined in very like
nebulous
totally
terms,
fucking different ways.
Yeah.
And obviously everybody wants an end to both of those things. However, I think like, it's just it's weird. It's like it's too fucking broad for
what I see happening right now is that like a lot of the governments in Europe are panicking because they realize that they've lost control of the narratives, and that other equally pernicious things have like filled the place. So it's really a fucking war between bureaucratic government control and just the pure raw chaotic force of the internet, which like certain nefarious interests are a lot better at using and weaponizing in order to kind of social engineer, steer public consciousness than our governments have become, basically.
But it's almost like a perfect example of what I was talking about earlier, right? About like the internet is seemingly better and worse now than it was when I was a lad. I saw not Osama bin Laden, fucking Saddam Hussein's like execution or whatever on the internet when I was like fucking 12 or whatever.
Why did you
right?
watch that? What's wrong with you?
I don't know, my brother was in the army. I was just like, hey, victory or whatever.
That's
like, like
so messed up on so many levels. So messed up. Anyway.
But like that's my point though, right?
Yeah.
I was fucking 12 years old and I could go on the internet and I could see Saddam Hussein get like fucking hung or whatever and like that whole fucking shit.
Yeah.
Like now I feel like it would be harder as a 12-year-old to find those kinds of videos.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No. What makes you think that that's the case? I don't think so at all.
I think because they've been
chaotic, because there's been
this kind of like half step measure at the moment. So a lot of those old, like the website that I viewed it on, for example, would be dead, and it would like whatever. And so maybe the like explicitly very famous ones like Saddam Hussein or whatever may still be around or whatever. But all the kind of crazy shit that was on the internet when I was in fucking high school and whatever. That shit existed, and like fucking all the gross child shit has existed on the internet forever.
Yeah, of course.
So the point you make is that the further radicalization of people and the general further and like whatever like disagreement with the narrative in all sorts of different ways from like the government is basically like a large part of why they want to shut down now versus why they didn't shut down 10 years ago or 20 years ago.
Yeah, there's always been dark shit online. Young people have always, been exposed to bad things online. There's always been political radicalization online, but the only reason that they're trying to put these like blockades and, quote unquote internet moderation efforts in place now is because their ability to social engineer and control the political zeitgeist is now been totally compromised by the chaotic forces of the internet.
That's why everyone's voted for a different government in the whole of the world, essentially. It's like one of the first times ever that almost every government has been voted out of power at the same time.
Yeah. Even then, I mean, even the ways that they have been trying to, do moderation are unethical. I mean, we have a video to show of like, the fact that a lot of tech companies have been outsourcing moderation duties to parts of Africa where people in, developing countries are forced to sit and sift through these really, really disturbing materials, it obviously has a deleterious effect on their mental health. They're given no aftercare, no, no kind of healing afterwards. They're just sort of like let out into society. Yeah, let's check it out. Let's check it out. It's really disturbing.
The work that I did was very traumatizing. I usually visit parks around Nairobi for my own mental health. Being close to the trees, the brushing of the leaves, the water flowing and everything, it calms me down.
Moses' life is very different than it was a year ago. That's because he's now one of several Kenyan workers suing some of the biggest tech companies on the planet.
I didn't know that I was going to work for TikTok as a content moderator when I applied. The vacancy that I applied for was for a customer support agent.
Content moderation involves screening user-generated images, text, and audio for explicit content like blood, weapons, or sexual abuse.
There are some days the content that we used to review used to challenge your own mental fortitude, You'd find that there's a day you just experience the traumatizing and sexually explicit videos on a continuous basis.
As outsourced employees for TikTok subcontractor Marjarell, Mojez and his colleagues had to watch over 1,000 flagged videos daily in exchange for about €2 an hour. Mojez realized he wasn't the only one struggling with the pressure of digesting traumatic content for long hours with low pay. He raised his concerns with supervisors, but it didn't go as planned.
The moment I spoke out on behalf of my colleagues, I was automatically blacklisted. And I feel it was basically a retaliation from the company for how I used to speak up and address some challenges that were facing my fellow colleagues.
Firing a worker for voicing concerns is illegal under Kenyan labor law. Advocates like Mercy Mutimi say that more young tech workers are forming unions as a way to fight back.
If tech work has been sold as a dream for every young Kenyan, how do we make sure we protect them? For me, without a doubt, is just safeguarding their right to unionize.
That's exactly what Mojez and workers like him decided to do.
Crazy shit.
So, like, when that lady's there saying, "Oh, we're from Ofcom, we want to protect your children, and we want to get rid of all of this content, and we'll be going to all of these different companies to ensure that they're doing, the things to be ethical and make sure that none of this, like, what I would deem as terroristic content or whatever inappropriate content is being shown on all these different platforms." Who are the fucking people that have to fucking go and do that? AI is not smart enough to do that yet. Maybe it might be in, like,
which is the next step.
a few years possibly.
That's the next step I was going to say.
But at this point still, right now, it's not. And if you were to put that kind of emphasis on all of these private companies, then you would have to, I don't know, they would have to end up employing a whole shitload more people in the developing world, most likely, to keep those costs down. To sift through all of this fucking toxic, horrible shit. Yeah. And then God knows what that kind of effect has on those societies and communities in those places, man. And so, of course, Ofcom wouldn't want to take on that burden themselves, like, of moderating traffic on the internet that's in the UK. Putting the emphasis onto companies allows them to do shit like that. And it is a get out of jail. And even then, like, any issue that they come across is just a fine, which is just like it's a what was that phrase? It's like
slap on the wrist type of thing.
Not even just that, but like it's only illegal if you can't afford it, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much.
So
pretty
like,
much.
And I know that not everyone's running a fucking social media company in their fucking bedroom or whatever, and there's not exactly a lot of little guys to kind of pick on in this situation. But I think the point is, like, people should be going to fucking jail for trying to incentivize and propagate toxic content like that. And that is exactly what Facebook has been doing for over 10 years. And so why I think just fines and shit aren't enough. Fines.
But
and
when it comes to
who's the people responsible for making those fucking policies at Facebook that causes all of that shit? That has caused all of those fucking girls and shit to have fucking eating disorders and shit from Instagram for the way they incentivize all those platforms.
Yeah.
There are product managers at those tech companies that are responsible for the decisions like that, and those are the people that need to be held accountable for it. People.
Yeah,
not
but
just
I don't think,
you need to pay this fucking fine of whatever because
I get
whoops
what
a
you're
daisy.
saying, but I don't think that these people in the government are necessarily concerned with the deleterious effects certain incentive structures are having on society. I think they care more about the fact that they're losing control of the narrative and that they can no longer socially engineer us as easily, and that there are other forces that are now doing that. I think they're more concerned about that aspect of things. And then also when it comes to the whole terrorism aspect of things as well, like you said, the definition of that is incredibly nebulous. I mean, even now in America, I think it was today or yesterday, someone was like arrested and they're threatening to take his green card away for doing pro-Palestine protests. And that's like considered terroristic action or whatever. So you see how the definition of terrorism can be expanded to absurdity, but at the same time the definition of terrorism is like using the public as like collateral damage for your political, religious, ideological grievances. And I mean, we're in the era of peak radicalization now, right, where people are being radicalized left and right online, imbibing ideologies, following certain influencers. And we have seen a rise in what I would deem terroristic violence. It's not necessarily called terrorism by the media, but it truly is terroristic violence in the sense that it's often motivated by ideological grievances that are kind of influenced by online rabbit holes. And I think we're going to see an increase in that sort of thing in coming years. We already are seeing, an increase in it occurring. So it is an issue, but I don't think that Ofcom or any of these institutions really care about protecting us or creating a safer environment. I think they more care that they don't have control over.
No, but if the whole swing is going to, hey, we're going to change the internet and we're going to start censoring it, which is what it is, like or moderating it, however, whatever fucking lawyer language you want to use to describe it. If you, if you want to do that, then the conversation should be around the greater good of like what these things are actually serving for the population, and not just and picking apart their fucking business models and stuff.
Yeah.
Business model to fucking give like teenagers mental fucking health disorders, I feel like is not really, it shouldn't be legal.
No, but they don't, like I said, they don't care about all of that, because if they cared about that, they would have gone after these social media companies donkeys years ago.
Well, it's also
the only reason they haven't is because it's not interfered in the political domain as much as it has now, especially now that like Elon Musk owns X, and the sort of, since 2016 you've seen the really massive influence that the social media environment has had on political outcomes and elections. And especially now that geopolitical tensions are rising, and now especially that Europe and America have somewhat of an antagonistic relationship going, you're now seeing them using things like child exploitation and terrorism and all of these things to justify having more powers on the internet. And I think it's more so to trap us in an information bubble, to moderate the information that we're able to receive, to make sure that they have control over what's buzzing around the political zeitgeist. I think not that I'm happy Elon Musk has control over that either. I think that that's shit too.
No, but I think that the entirety of Twitter is staging for narrative building for the media, essentially. Because when you look at the user numbers of all of the social platforms, Twitter is actually the lowest by like a really big margin. And so why is that actually the focal point of the whole conversation all the time when it's got the lowest amount of numbers? Yeah, exactly. So that's where they stage the theatre of the bullshit and all of the
spectacle.
Yeah. And that's then like trickles down to articles that people read on Facebook where like actually the majority of people are, or whatever. Or like even now, I guess you'd argue TikTok is kind of the
but in terms
one.
of its ability to steer public opinion, to social engineer, to pull people down rabbit holes as well, that really is like the power it has. And I think that that's the power that these regulatory bodies in Europe and in the UK are afraid of, which is why they're invoking all of this safety propaganda to...
Well, I don't know. It's kind of in the same logic, like, you know, Facebook and YouTube are used by crypto people to advertise their investment ideas, to charitably put it, right?
So is X, though.
Yeah, sure. Okay, and so yeah, absolutely, and so is X, right?
Twitter, whatever.
So then, by the lady's logic, right? If someone thinks that the investment that they did was a scam, they report them to Ofcom. 10,000 people are also doing this. They also report the same person to Ofcom. What does Ofcom sees that this is like fraudulent content? Maybe you'd call it like that, right? It's like content meant to defraud people. The process is then that you fine the platforms that hosted his video, and this guy just like walks away. Like, that's kind of like what I'm getting at here, right? It's like there's absolutely no emphasis on responsibility for for the person distributing and posting that stuff. The emphasis is purely on like getting the company, because all they want it is a fucking tax on these fucking companies. And it's kind of fucking gross, to be honest. And they're gonna change the internet in the very fucking argument of doing this thing. And it's gonna suck.
Massively.
It's gonna suck.
It already sucks. I mean, you either have like a deranged tech billionaire controlling the sort of broadcasting space, or you have like a cringy Ofcom lady wagging her finger at you, telling you what you can and can't do. Like, neither of those options are good. Neither of them particularly seem great to me. And I do agree with what you said earlier about the fact that no matter what they do, they're just going to make the internet worse. And I feel like it has just been progressively getting worse and worse and worse. Like, it's just not a nice place to be.
Like, how good would you feel about using social media and knowing that it's squeaky clean? But it's squeaky clean because there's like a village worth of Africans scrubbing it clean for you.
And getting PTSD.
And literally getting PTSD in the process of that. Like, how great are we feeling about scrolling on anything?
I don't feel great. Like, anyway, so that would just make me feel 100 times worse.
Do you think it would make people stop though?
I don't think so.
Do you think it's literally Garmin Bosia, or it's just like that? It's just like McDonald's on tap. You just cannot stop. No matter, like, you know it's bad.
Give
me
the brain rot.
You watched Super Size Me. You know what this shit's doing to you, but you just cannot stop.
Give me the brain rot. Put it in my brain. I feel like that's the general attitude. And yeah, I don't think if people were aware that a bunch of African like people who were being paid like $2 and like a day had to watch a bunch of traumatizing material so that they could scroll through clean social media.
Like, when I discovered the whole, when I read about the whole fucking Amazon Fresh fiasco.
What was that?
Right?
What was that?
Well, you know, Amazon Fresh, for international viewers and whatever, we have this thing in the UK called Amazon Fresh, which is essentially like just a supermarket, but you don't have to use your card or pay for anything. You scan your Amazon account as you go into the store, mooch about, pick up whatever you want, pop it in a bag, and just leave.
Jeffy Bezos shop over there that we sometimes go to.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Right? That was pitched basically as a revolutionary piece of technology where you didn't even need to self-scan your shit at the end of it. It knows what you've picked up and it's tracked it to your account and you just walk out. then they realized it's actually just a massive call center in India of people watching the CCTV footage, seeing the login date or the scan date of when you've scanned your stuff, and literally watching you around the shop, watch what you pick up and probably put down again, and then leave with, and then charging your Amazon account.
Yeah.
And in the very same kind of similar way to this poor fella in Kenya or whatever.
Yeah.
But you know what? The guy in India is just watching me debate whether I want to spend £3.50 on cherry tomatoes or not, and not shifting through fucking CP.
Yeah.
So I don't feel quite as guilty
about going to Jeffy's grocery store, where you're being watched by some guy in Bangladesh who will then charge your Amazon account.
But in trying to scrape the entire internet and social media sites, and I would assume YouTube is also included in that, and Google are also included in that, right?
Yeah, I mean, TikTok, he was working for TikTok, the guy that we just watched a video about.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and even then, the sort of war on TikTok that's been happening in America also plays into this, the sort of on again, off again, flirtatious relationship that America has with TikTok.
Well, they're on again now because Trump is in.
Yeah, but again, there's still this like ambivalence towards the platform, because again, it's a place where America and American companies don't necessarily have control over the social engineering aspect of it and the sorts of propaganda that gets pushed on it. And all of these social media platforms are vectors for social engineering and propaganda. And whoever runs them and whatever interests are behind them are, pretty much running the show. And with TikTok, you have an international social media company.
You see, I don't
that's
think
out of the reach of
I don't think
American, influence. Therefore, the hostility towards it is really rooted in that. And again, they'll couch it, and we want to protect our young from brain rot and stuff. But it's not really about that. It's all about having control over the means of.
It's not even about control. I think it's just about the potential opaqueness of their ultimate aim or alliance or whatever else.
Well,
right?
so there's Elon Musk's ultimate fucking the opaqueness of X also exists as well.
Because I think the general conspiracy about TikTok is that it is this social media platform designed in the East that is used to let loose the absolute worst instincts in society and promote those.
Yeah, well, you could say that about X. X is even worse.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But it's designed in America, and they know, and they can see what's going on with that because Elon's in the government.
To an extent, because during the time when Twitter was not controlled by Elon Musk, and it was during the COVID period, and there was a lot of unfair censorship going on and things like that. Trump himself was kicked off of. It was unprecedented for a sitting president to be kicked off of a platform.
Mm-hmm.
So really and truly, it is a black box, and whoever controls it, it's like the One Ring in Lord of the Rings, basically. Mm-hmm. These platforms, the amount of power it gives you over public consciousness, and also the ability to social engineer, is really what these countries and these sorts of governmental bodies are concerned about.
I think it should go back to gamer profiles and
total anonymity.
Not even anonymity, just having a jokes gamer tag and having all your achievements and show off to your buds.
Well, now in the EU they're proposing things getting rid of anonymity on the internet and all of these different elements, again under the guise of protecting us. And
can you pass a drink? Sorry.
Not that there isn't stuff to be protected from.
Yeah, but again, you can say something very good, oh yeah, the problem is these anonymous trolls, so we get rid of anonymity, and everyone goes yay, and then there's nobody that asks the follow-up question of, cool, how are you going to do that? Because to do that would require some pretty draconian level measures.
Yeah.
To
and that's
basically
what's coming down
link
the pipeline, I believe, in Europe. I think that
to basically link some kind of verified ID with your access to the internet.
Yeah, pretty much.
In a very similar way to you probably having to type in a factor authenticator for your work laptop when you're at home or something is akin to that, but with a much more official like thing, biometric or however you want to describe it.
It's going to be biometric, and I think that that's where we're headed. And I also think that people like Elon Musk, I think the reason why they allow so much sort of debauchery and filth on their platforms is because they also want it to head in that direction. They want things to get so bad and for people to become so disgusted with social media that people will capitulate to those tighter controls, and sort of surrendering of things like biometrical data. It's frightening.
Have got a good one from Simone's Curio. Have you all talked about the network states concept? No, I haven't yet. We haven't yet, but I do appreciate that is essentially kind of a part of the public known Peter Thiel group kind of objectives, should we say?
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I watched a pretty interesting video about it from this guy called Art Chad on YouTube, who went to one of these economic zones in, I don't want to say Peru or Ecuador or something like that, basically in like South America somewhere, where they have all these islands on the edge of the country that they've basically just gone, hey, have you got money? Do you want to come and do some crazy shit? Have one of these fucking islands. You can do whatever you want, basically.
Sounds great.
no regulations, fucking medically, fucking whatever the fuck. So all these like crypto bros and like people are basically gone down to like buy up some of these islands,
libertarian
and make
Kapistan
exactly, and make their own countries, and like that is exactly the fucking toxic mentality that you see repeated by like right wing stooge fucking politicians in this country and anywhere else on the kind of more right leanings, or even kind of what you would deem as like blue labor in this country, or just like a general Democrat, I guess, in America, of like someone that doesn't really fucking align with the working class and still ends up like rooting for kind of like neoliberal ideals and whatever the fuck. It's just it's basically like we want to run the country like a business. Yeah. And it should make money. Yeah. It should run this way. And people should be able to. Basically, that means people could be fired. People could be made redundant. People like that's such a fucking stupid fucking like framework and mentality to run any or approach governing any kind of actual country. Like, yeah, maybe it works for a fucking business, but a country is not a business. No. And when you start to look at everything through the fucking like
Silicon Valley
objective lens of business and macroeconomic debt and fucking all of these other fucking kind of like, let's be honest, bro, half made up fucking terms, like it like gets into people's heads and oh yeah, I'm really worried about the debt. That's why they let in cheap migrant labor and all of this kind of stuff, because we're in so much debt, and like all of these kind of, like all of this stuff adds to this kind of like negative mentality that we need to cut away things to like, you know, restrict services so that we can save money to not be in so much debt, and like all of this stuff fucking stupid fucking idea, because you're trying to run a fucking country like a business and you're approaching it with that same fucking philosophy and mentality. And the fucking what's it called, the Reform Party in the fucking UK literally echo the same fucking shit at the moment on the radio. The Conservatives do, even like, and this is what I mean by like responsible, or how not responsible because they're just fucking cunts, but like people like Keir Starmer or whatever, responsible fucking like left-wing people, centrist fucking left-wing people that want to basically just have power and not do anything. They would also like align with the similar ethos, because that would be seen as like a fiscally responsible position to have, even when it like doesn't center fucking people at the focus of it, when that's your entire focus when you're trying to govern people.
It's not. It's not. But even then, moving on to the next part, there was obviously a recent cyber attack on X, which I think ties into a lot of what we're talking about right now. Obviously, all we know is that the cyber attack has happened. Elon has been freaking out about it on X, saying that he thinks that they get what he said is that X gets attacked all the time, but that this one was particularly sophisticated. So he thinks it may be a country or some kind of organized actor. I don't know. It could be any of the above. But again, I think it ties into this.
Or maybe he wants to delete some files.
Maybe, who knows? But I think it ties into this fear that, so many people, so many governments currently have surrounding the amount of power that platform holds. And just the sort of general annoyance with Elon, like, I feel like if it was anyone else, perhaps there may be a bit more like
it's probably just Kim Jong-un's version of a Facebook poke. Do you know what I mean?
It's
just
like, hey, it's a little,
he gets his like cyber attack team to like take down a massive deal of like in the West somewhere. He's like, hey man, I know you've just been in power for like 2 months, but remember, like,
I
we
wouldn't
buds,
be
and you should.
surprised. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, because I feel like all these governments are, again, correctly concerned with the level of power that X has in terms of shaping the zeitgeist and social engineering and all of that sort of thing. But they're not concerned because they think that it's generally wrong. They're concerned because they want that power themselves.
Isn't it interesting?
And it wouldn't surprise me if this was orchestrated by...
Isn't it interesting that all of the biggest social media websites in the world are American owned?
Well, except for TikTok, which is Chinese owned, which is...
TikTok is owned by like that guy who's in Congress, bro.
He's from he's from Singapore or something.
He has an American passport. He's an American. He's not Singaporean.
Yeah, but he's like...
Oh no, he was Singaporean. He's not fucking like Chinese
he's like
or
the
whatever.
representative of the company as the CEO. That doesn't necessarily mean it's not a Chinese company.
It's not a Chinese company, bro.
It is. TikTok is a Chinese company.
It's not. It's not.
It is. Look it up.
It's not.
I will fight you on this. It's a Chinese...
ByteDance that owns the platform TikTok, Angie, is not a Chinese company.
I'm pretty sure TikTok is Chinese. I'm pretty sure you're
who
just
owns
trolling me right now.
Who owns
No,
ByteDance?
type in who owns TikTok.
It's gonna say fucking
Type in who
ByteDance,
owns
and then see
TikTok.
ByteDance, and then who owns is a Chinese social media
Yeah,
company.
exactly. Shush.
All right.
So
fair
I
enough.
won. Exactly. Be quiet.
Are they still Chinese though? Because
Yeah,
I thought that was the whole
no.
drama that they like weren't
No.
allowed to be
They're
Chinese owned.
They're Chinese, okay? They're Chinese. And that's the thing. That's the problem, is all the hostility you're seeing towards TikTok is because the American government is mad that they can't control the narrative and the sort of social engineering mechanisms on TikTok. In the same way that now I'm pretty sure this cyber attack is due to the same reasons. And I feel like it's just going to be this for the next year, is all of these different...
Yeah, there you go. So let's break it down now. Like, so TikTok update, okay? It is 60% owned by global institutional investors, i.e. BlackRock, etc.
Oh my God.
20% owned by the company's founders, i.e. some Chinese fellas that fucking struck gold. And 20% owned by its employees, which is quite interesting. But I would also probably, if that's only 7,000 people, I would assume a good chunk of that 20% is by probably at least 10 to 50 of those people, not 7,000 of them, but yeah.
Wait, it's owned by BlackRock?
Yeah.
What the
BlackRock, General
fuck?
Atlantic, and Susquehanna International Group, which will be another fucking glowy, finance thingy.
Friggin', that's quite frightening. That's terrifying.
So yeah, it was a Chinese social media company, but it's not anymore. That's my point. It's like it follows the same fucking ruthless global interest of anything, and it doesn't have any kind of alliance with anything,
But
which is what scares the Americans and other people.
But it
And I
still
don't know-
ties
and-
into the wider geopolitical situation right now, where they're calling it multipolarization, in the sense that Europe is kind of trying to differentiate itself from America. America's kind of allying itself with Russia. China's doing its own thing. There are all kinds of different information bubbles, different internet and social media cultures springing up. And governments are now, especially America, since it's used to its own sort of unipolar power, is now sort of in a blind panic because it no longer fully controls the narrative. And Europe is in a blind panic because so much of our narrative is controlled by the American zeitgeist. And now there's this sort of hostility brewing between the two different continents. So I think we're just going to see this whole slap fight continue for the rest of the year. I think there'll probably be more cyber attacks because there is currently geopolitical tension happening and warfare, and I think cyber warfare is definitely going to factor into that in a massive way.
I don't know. I think the other interesting point with the only being American social media platforms or whatever is like also after working for in the technology world a little bit, no matter what the technology is, if it's like some shit like a setting within your TV or some fucking thing for a soundbar or whatever it is, there is also like a EU funded open source version of that thing competing for the same contracts with electronic goods manufacturers and all that kind of stuff, right? So like, why isn't that same approach taken to something as like macro as social media?
Yeah, I agree.
Like the EU has all of these, and the UK even have all of these really strong ideas about what should and shouldn't be on social media. Bro, make the
Your
fucking
own
platform then.
Yeah.
And not only that, like if you'll see how good it is, right?
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of hard because they instinctively know that it's not sexy to join a state social media platform or whatever. However, if that becomes the guaranteed safest place, and the next generation of kids basically start out on that thing, I think it would totally change the culture of it and everything else along with it. You have to start somewhere, I think.
Yeah.
And that's a better place to start than fucking employing a city's worth of Africans to go through all of the fucking slime and shit. Like
even then, though, I feel like part of why the European governmental powers are panicking now is because of that conference where JD Vance was kind of taunting them and was like, lol, if a few Russian memes can like destabilize your whole democracy, then maybe it wasn't great to begin with. And I think that that's the reason why they're like
who was he indirectly talking about there? Was he talking about Romania there?
I think he was probably talking about Romania, but I think he was talking more widely to European bureaucrats who had been sort of bellyaching about Cambridge Analytica and Russian interference and things like that. Which has been a motif for the past decade almost.
It's probably because he's got fucking mates that works at all those fucking glowy companies. Like, you can't trust a word that fucking guy says. And if he said that, like, in the same way of, like, I think he made some comment basically indirectly at us of saying, like, oh, that random country that hasn't fought a war in 40 years or whatever
he threw shade at
like
Britain.
every fucking like British like media person lost their shit and like instantly fucking corrected him. They went
red.
Yeah, they went big red, especially all the fucking right-wing people. They went like big red and stuck their fucking chest out in all these stupid where in all these ways which like rightly like we backed America in all these fucking stupid fucking wars which we shouldn't have even been in the fucking first place. So you can't go around and then say this random fucking place that's never done anything. No. Like, that's fucking insane, bro.
But even
to imply that about Romania, I feel like it's particularly fucking like cruel and just mean. Like the political history of Romania is fucking dicey, man. And like they had a dictator and in the 20th century. Do you know what I mean? It's not like that shit was so long ago, and they've not had that many like. Totally fucking. They've not had this democracy shit for a super long time. So maybe
Even then, his remarks were sort of aimed at the sort of bellyaching that's been going on within the European, bureaucracy about Russian interference, Cambridge Analytica, all of this sort of Russian bot farms, Chinese bot farms, this and that. And he was sort of saying, well, why don't you control your own apparatus? That was kind of the implied jape in what he was saying in that sense. And I think that that's kind of what they're heading at with all this Ofcom interference. But like you said, it's just going to make it 10 times worse. I don't think there's anything that the governments can do to make and the idea that governmental and corporate interests are kind of coalescing to control the internet and to use it as a tool for social engineering should give us all like alarm right now.
No, because it basically is like come to the point in ideology where growth and private companies should be unshackled from essentially being able to expand and be as powerful as they want to be. And there's only really so much a government can do about that.
Yeah.
And the best we can do is try and chuck a few fines at them.
Mm-hmm.
That is like how impotent the government is within
Yeah.
this, and their ideology does not let them challenge any of it further than that.
No.
Like the very concept that like Google and Facebook and all these people have such control over the information that all of your citizens are reliant on every day almost to function in society, that's like worrying.
Yeah.
That a private company has that much control over your own citizens.
But it also worries me
No?
that
Like
Karen Ofcom ladies also want in on the action too, you know? I don't want either of those things. And I feel like those are the two choices that are being put in front of us right now.
no,
and
but
that sucks.
we need to grow beyond all of those things. You need to have like some sort of international fucking body that fucking does the internet, regulates the internet. The big things where, yes, this is where we all share and view our videos. It's not owned by Google, but it is the main place in which we all do that.
Yeah.
And so the incentives for that are no longer led by bullshit,
Yeah.
but they're led by the organic stuff of all of us actually just sharing our own humanity on this digital platform.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and
But we're way far away from that being a reality right now. The reality is corporate and governmental interests vying for control over these social domains, and the only thing you can do is not surrender your consciousness or subjectivity to these realms.
I used to say everything should be like Wikipedia, but then Wikipedia got doged and they got sort of caught like doing all sorts of
They got
weird, like
doged.
promoting like LGBT in the Congo stuff.
Oh
and it was
gosh!
just like,
Oh dear!
that's not what we donated to you for Wikipedia. We donated to you to keep the information going. What the fuck are you doing?
But that's the thing,
And
is I feel like I feel like unplugging is the answer. I don't think that trusting these, even if you're not going to fully unplug, trusting these platforms as the place where you get your information, where you socialize and network, I think that time has come to an end now.
I think
that
there's-
era has passed.
It's not only that, there are like no decisions left to be made in this regard. Like this conversation was had 30 years ago in the mid to late 90s, like just before the .com boom, and probably even after then as well, of the power of the internet and all of this kind of concept and whatever. And it's like the way in which kind of the ethos and the spirit in which things should be done, it like a lot of the kind of cyberpunks and whatever, the Wikipedias, they rallied their fucking flag, man, for an open internet and for all of these kinds of things. And that decision was made against them, and
Even
we are
in the
living
realm-
we are living in the fallout of
Yeah,
that,
we're
and
living
we'll
in the
continue
fallout.
to live in the fallout
Yeah.
of those decisions and that
Yeah.
ethos. And it's not just like
Even with
anyone making one
AI,
decision.
OpenAI was an open source, project before it was privatized. So
Somewhat,
yeah, well, that was
Somewhat.
the ethos it was started with,
somewhat. It's still,
and the people who started
all of the same
OpenAI
goblins.
were also.
All of the same goblins are still there.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
But
so
I'm
let's
talking
be
about
like,
I'm talking about the founding members. Many of them were sort of skeptics in that sense. They weren't gung ho accelerationists like the people who are at the helm of it now. So we are, in the sense, living in the fallout of the more accelerationist ethos that you're talking about, and the one that doesn't necessarily take into account human flourishing over profit and greed, basically. So yeah, you're 100% right. We're living in the fallout of those decisions now, and I think the only real alternative for your sanity and for your personal well-being is to unplug from it as much as possible, if not physically completely, at least mentally. I don't take half of it. I don't take anything I see on social media seriously. I don't take social media seriously in any capacity whatsoever. It's not my primary source of information. It's not the primary source of fulfillment, networking, socializing. I'm not plugged into that like universe at all. At least not as much as I used to be. And I think that now that corporate interests and governmental interests have like encroached upon it, it's made it feel much less fun, much less of a habitable environment for creativity. It's all about propaganda now. even shit posting, it's like all become propagandized cheerleading for one side of the political spectrum or the other. It's no longer just about joy and subversiveness and, you know, being cheeky. It's all about, you know, being a cheerleader for a specific party and all of this fucking bullshit. It's just not fun anymore. So it's like, what's the fucking point? I really don't see the point. Not that you can't still connect online, like doing stuff like this is way more fulfilling to me than being involved in the constant mire of social media. And I don't know why you would want to be deeply invested in environments that are controlled by people like Elon Musk or by Karen Ofcom ladies, which is exactly where all this shit is headed.
Well, it's not that they're invested in that. I think it's more that, yeah, those platforms do form those functions for people in terms of messaging, in terms of keeping into contact, in terms of keeping a network easily accessible. And yeah, it can move into kind of less toxic in ways, more like a WhatsApp group or whatever versus a Facebook group. Like those two things are very fucking different in their functionality, right? But it's still kind of, I don't know, it's really tricky, but I think it is essentially the butting of heads of the fallout of the ideology that we live in, and the culture that has formulated our elites and what they wish to pursue is not like to build this thing that's super efficient and great for people. It's to fucking
trap our
extract
consciousness,
as much money out of everybody as fucking
attention,
physically possible.
Money,
and
brain power, all of it.
Through,
data.
Yeah, exactly. Whether that's
all
through
of
data
it.
harvesting or just directly selling shit and commission or however the fuck it is, middleman bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, they just want to profit.
Yep. Someone says, shouldn't be shocking though, Angie, we're primal tribal apes at our core. Well, I think that the primal tribal ape is only one half of the equation. There's also the aspect of us that's affected by enlightenment and higher faculties.
Some of us are stoned apes, and we don't want to do that bullshit anymore, man. Like,
the sad thing is, though, these social media environments do tend to incentivize the more tribalistic ape-like version of ourselves. But it's up to you to use your higher faculties and not allow your higher faculties to be overridden by the sort of tribalistic, regressed incentive structure in these environments.
Like, what the recent interview with this Facebook whistleblower said was that like showcasing violence, like violent clips in whatever capacity to do with something of your interest keeps you a fractionally percentage more engaged with the platform than if they didn't, or moderated it, or however you want to explain it, right? And they choose to show more violent stuff because of that fraction of a percentage. Like that, it's not like it increases engagement 50% or like to a level where you're like, oh well, obviously it's a no deal. Like, there's no way that you're not gonna do that. It's like, dude, it does it like 0.3 of a percent.
Yeah.
That's the needle it moves, is 0.3 of a percent. And that level of like moral choice moves the needle that much. Like, that to me is insane. And that's the kind of culture that you're kind of dealing with corporate elites and stuff. How do you challenge that? I used to, in my old naive hippie ways, think that, like, dude, it was like what's her name, Mary from Timothy Leary's book. You just got to get all these people together and get them lit up, man. Get them tripping, get them on some shit to make them realize that they've already done all of that stuff on their trip. Led them to realize that they need to show violent fucking videos to people for a fucking 0.3% more engagement. Like, dude, we did not have the same trip. Like, what the fuck? Like, that is insane.
No, dude, you did not have the same trip.
It's insane.
Yeah, no.
And that's, I mean,
they've all taken the ayahuasca. They've seen the Machine Elves, you know.
Just have a little fun plug at the end. You should all be watching Common Side Effects, because this new cartoon has been, it presses on exactly the button of all of this shit, man. It's basically just the culture of how we make fucking decisions as a human society. And if you had this magic fucking mushroom that could just cure everything and almost like reverse death, what would actually happen through the human making decision process of discovering this thing?
You should also
fucking brilliant, man.
You should also
Fucking
be
brilliant.
watching White Lotus if you're not already as well. The moral of which is rich people bad, which is the moral of every season of White Lotus. Which is, we're gonna watch it after we're done with this anyway. But anyway, last topic for the night. Speaking of JD Vance, if you've been kicking around social media this week, you would have seen the rare Vance memes that have been going around, just like everywhere. Everywhere you go.
This is the silly fat face thing you've been sending me.
You see rare Vance memes everywhere. Hera, let's see if we can find some examples.
So the Metro collected a few for us, which that is pretty genius. The Las Vegas Sphere as him and his just bald head. It's pretty funny. This is my favorite by far. The Shrek
lollipop.
The Shrek lollipop boy.
I love it.
As Zelensky. Emo
Vance.
Emo Vance is an old one. Oldie but goldie.
It makes sense.
This one is I guess an extension on the lollipop Shrek boy, but not doesn't hit the same because he's not
I love
from
the
Shrek.
Emo Vance too, to be honest. I think it sums him up really well.
What's with the purple kind of? Oh, because it's a Willy Wonka thing again. Because he's like a child. What's with this one?
That's amazing. That's so amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
and then it goes on to talk about how Green Day gave a swear at Trump on their tour.
Oh God.
And he said, "Fuck you, JD Vance.
Oh God.
You're an American idiot."
Oh dear. Billy Joe Armstrong
fucking cringe,
needs to,
bro.
Like, retire.
Pack
he needs
it
to
in.
go home. He needs to stop. So fucking cringe. But yeah, these memes that have been going around of JD Vance, I guess one of the positive aspects is that it's like united people across the political spectrum because everybody seems to be making them. But from what I read, it started out as some senator posted a picture of JD Vance where he had edited it to make it look like he had like a Chad chin.
Right.
So then someone made a picture where they sort of exaggerated to his like babyish,
Right.
his babyish features as a retort to the Chad
He's
picture.
got far too much of a round face.
I want to know if he wears
squeeze it
eyeliner.
into
I really want to know if he wears eyeliner, if the accusations about the eyeliner are true.
Do you want to get his color?
I do. I think it makes his eyes pop in an
Do
interesting
you think it would
way.
suit me?
No, I'm joking. Guy liner should be illegal. It should definitely be illegal.
That's what you want to report to the Ofcom lady.
I do. That's one of the many offences that needs to be reported to the Ofcom lady.
Get all these men wearing eyeliner off my Facebook profile, please.
Danny says he does wear guy liner. Hang on, I have to investigate this for myself.
We've already done this. We've already
We've
Googled
not done
this.
it. We've not Googled this. Hang on, Google it for me. I need to see for myself.
We've already Googled this. Look, it's
I
on,
think
my, it's on my history.
I think it's a brave and stunning choice if he is wearing guy liner. Go to images.
No, see this. We watched. It was this one. It's Elle. It's fashion magazine, and they did a whole thing on it.
I believe he is. I think that he's got a little bit of something going on. I definitely believe it.
Do you know what else was fucking crazy? And we're talking about platforms fucking doing propaganda and all sorts of mad shit with power at the moment. Apple Music sent me a fucking notification today because it pushed a playlist that King Charles had made.
Oh my God.
I wish I scoffed. My phone gave me the notification and I fucking scoffed and I put it down.
What's on it?
I didn't
curious.
look.
I'm curious though. I want to know.
God.
You have to go on Apple Music now. I'm real curious.
But how fucking gross is that, really? Like,
what's worse, the U2 album that Apple forced us all to have?
I mean, I'd almost completely forgotten about that, and now we're just going to think about all of the shit
The
things
shit
that Apple
things.
Music have done.
Oh my God. Is it on their homepage?
I mean, if you're going to send me a fucking notification about it, I should bloody hope so.
It's not.
It's clearly not that fucking important then, is it? Then why are you sending me a push notification on my phone?
Oh no, I want to know
Like,
what his
how-
fucking music taste is.
You know what, let's just Google that instead.
I really need to know now. I'm really curious. I'm guessing that
I bet
he's
it's
like
got Queen on it.
No. I think he's like a 60s like mod guy.
60s mod guy.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah.
Because that was his era.
The King's Music Room. A celebration of music across the Commonwealth. Fuck off, King Charles. Why the fuck are you on a fucking pop notification on my bloody music
Because he has to
streaming
stay relevant. He looks like
platform?
he's about to do a podcast. Wait, show people.
Absolute goblin.
Show people. He looks like he's about to do a podcast or whatever.
Throughout my life, music has meant a great deal to me. It has that remarkable ability to bring happy memories, comfort us in times of sadness, and to take us to distant places. But perhaps, above all, it can lift our spirits to such a degree, and all the more so when it brings us together in celebration. In other words, it brings us joy. So this is what I particularly wanted to share with you. Songs which have brought me joy. This seemed such an interesting and innovative way to celebrate this year's Commonwealth Day.
I'm cool.
God.
I know who Bob Marley,
is amazing.
I was just, isn't it like, I don't know, isn't there something like
So
a bit,
tragic.
like, isn't there something just a bit, I mean, it's like,
Well,
it's
the
beautiful and it's
crown.
great
It's
in a
the
way that
crown.
there's like the Jamaicans, like, you know, music is getting played in this kind of, honoured in this way, I guess, at this thing. But isn't it just kind of weird? Isn't it also kind of fucking weird?
Well, that's
bro?
the thing is, it's cynical because it's the crown attempting to kind of stay relevant in the social media age by sending you Apple Music notifications where the king has made you a playlist or whatever.
I just feel like it's fucking like very. Oh yes, we're not racist anymore. I love Bob Marley. Do you know what I mean?
It is quite contrived. It is
Jamaica,
very contrived.
I'm not the king of there anymore. Oh, am I still? Oh, I didn't realize. Oh, like, what are you doing, man? Like, I don't know. I don't like it.
It's the crown
I don't
trying
like
to, I
it
mean,
one bit.
this week as well, Meghan Markle or whatever did released a show where she like put some berries on some granola and was like, look, lifestyle content. Isn't this lifestyle or whatever? It's literally just the crown attempting to stay relevant in like the digital, like modern age.
The only bit of royal,
they have like a marketing.
the only bit of royal
team.
lifestyle stuff I was ever interested in was there was this very cute retired old chef that retired to America.
Yeah,
And
I
he
remember.
was Princess Diana's personal chef
Yeah.
and like a chef for the royal family for like decades and whatever. And so he would like cook dishes that he would make for them and that's genuinely kind of
Wholesome.
cool because and it's wholesome. It's like whatever. It's like nothing to do with all the other kind of horrible shit. It's just like the culture of like fine cuisine and how that gets propagated by the very elitist of people, I guess. And it's kind of interesting to have a little insight into that world. But fuck the monarchy in just all sorts of ways. I
Fuck
like
Apple Music
it almost
sending
made
us notifications.
dude, it almost made me go, fuck you, Apple Music. I'm fucking unsubbing. But because I'm like in a fucking bundle deal with a bunch of mates from work now, the deal is too good for me to ever cancel it. Ever. Let's
Jay George says this is so tone deaf. I love it.
Thank you.
That's the
It is.
British
It is.
way.
That
It's
is
the
that is
British
exactly
way.
how I thought, man.
It's the
Like
British way. It's what we
fuck
do.
me.
It's what we do. It's what we do. But yeah,
I wasn't just tripping that.
back
It
to
was
the
a real thing. Like,
back to the JD Vance meme. It's causing quite a stir, obviously, because people are fighting about whether it's a woke meme or a right wing meme or a neutral meme.
isn't it just making fun of this petulant little shit?
I don't know. To me, memes have always just been
And
like.
because that little petulant little shit is the right wing vice president, it's perceived as a woke meme.
I don't know. I've always felt like memes are just funny chaos, right? They're not really meant to be read that way. And the fact that people are trying to read
I think
memes,
JD Vance rubs all of the right wing people the wrong, like most of the right wing people I see, especially in British media, the complete wrong way. Not that Donald Trump doesn't, But like there are some people that are like, oh, but he's a business guy, does
Yeah,
the deals,
yeah.
and they'll kind of like
Yeah.
figure out a way to kind of justify Donald Trump in some way. But JD Vance, and especially kind of the fucking way that he was in that whole fucking bit
European
with Zelensky. Well, no, the bit with Zelensky, even more than the fucking security thing. It just made everybody go, this guy is a fucking petulant cunt, and we cannot stand him.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen a single like right-wing person in the British media come to JD Vance's defense.
Yeah, he's very, very much disliked. And I mean, it's funny because he did come out in response to the meme, which some have argued killed the meme. Like, he shared his own version of a Rare Vance meme. I think once the person who's being memed is in on it, then it's dead or whatever. But it was his way of trying to get ahead of the fact that, you know, people are making fun of him on a mass scale.
I mean, some of the ones in just when I googled it were much funnier than the
Some of them were really genius.
I think the line was definitely, "Have you even said thank you once?" And it's just having this like really fat, shitty looking child with his stupid shit-eating fucking grin on it. Like it's just actually a perfect meme, which is why it's so unifying.
Yeah.
Like nobody can disagree that you were just shit in that situation. That meme epitomizes everyone's fucking like sentiment behind like why you're fucking shithead in that fucking situation.
He's generally a dislikable character, and it's because he's sort of like, he's somebody who views wealth and status as everything and will do anything to get it. And that's the reason why he's found himself caught up in this whole milieu, from like Peter Thiel to his like trail to the White House. It's all been his like pursuit of prominence, prestige, wealth. And I think it's because he comes from a very poor, traumatic background. I think that he is trying to transcend that, and it will forever feel like he has to like work to transcend that. He just seems kind of like a very pathetic
douchebag.
All of them do, though.
Yeah.
Every single one of them.
There was another Goldie moment in this week when I think it was something to do with the whole Zelensky Russia situation or whatever, and there was some like lady who's a doctor, so like you're assuming, I guess, like at a level of intelligence or capability with logic or however you want to describe it, if someone's a doctor. And this like journalist on LBC just fucking was talking to her about how about everything that went down. She's trying to defend Trump, and just falls apart like mid-sentence, and is just like completely at like lost for it. You're just like, nobody can actually fucking justify any of this shit, and you look like such a retard trying to do any of it, trying to defend any of it. There's no excuses. It just looks so fucking insensitive and crazy.
People have been saying as well that they don't know what JD Vance looks like anymore because of the meme. Like, now he's just become the meme.
He has become meme.
He has become meme.
Not another one.
Not another one. No. But that's the thing is, that's the thing is, the meme is this sort of vast impersonal force, and I wonder how this is going to affect him moving forward now that he's been sort of memeified to death. Because he's tried to play it cool, pretend like he's in on the joke. But I don't know if you can go back to just being like a person after you've been memed to that level.
Do you reckon that there are people trying to, make some moves on any of those people?
What do you mean?
Like, Donny T survived 2 assassination attempts in just the run-up to the election.
Yeah.
Do you not think that there are like more people at this point that just want to be like, fuck these guys, and they would really like be a lot more crazy than me and like actually like go and do something?
I don't know, dude. I don't.
Like, America's a crazy place, man.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like.
Like, I think Elon was saying he fears being assassinated on Joe Rogan.
Yeah, that's why he takes his child everywhere with him.
Good, man. You should. And it's also like, maybe that should be a deep sense of...
Bruce Wayne moment where like fucking...
That should be a deep sense of reflection, right? That like, you live your life and make decisions in such a way in which you now have to fear for your life for like how much you fuck people off.
And how much people hate you.
Is that not a point in which you go... damn, man.
No, that
I'm
sort
like,
of thing fuels. That sort of thing fuels these people.
I gotta stop
because
I gotta
they have their
change.
own sort of world and echo chamber.
I should try to be doing
No.
good in the world, and like
they have
you
their
know,
own sort of world and echo chamber where the more sort of hatred and pushback they get from the quote unquote normies, the more like it brings their group together, and the more sort of validated they feel. It's really quite pathetic if you think about it deeply enough. They're really just sort of circle jerking at this point and getting validation from one another, self-supplying. So all of their absurd behavior is sort of insulated, and also they're insulated from criticism from the public as well, which is why I don't know if memeing JD Vance is going to really affect him in that sense, because they have like their sycophants and their sort of echo chambers they surround themselves with.
it'll only give him more power in a sense,
pretty much,
because you've like put his image more in the public conscious, even if like it is to take the piss
distorted.
or whatever. It should be nothing more than essentially like a move on with your day. Not like, oh yeah, let me make my rare Vance.
Yeah. People are trading rare Vances now like Pokemon cards. And it's like people really do. We clearly have an unemployment crisis, you know. Like people need to fucking touch grass, and like
a lot of graphic designers are no longer.
Yeah, no longer.
So,
a lot of
like,
graphic designers have been replaced by AI now, so they are making rare Vances instead of making company logos or whatever, which is pretty sad. But yeah, such is the chaotic forces of the internet that have been unleashed. And we see that in the form of crazy, weird memes. And also we see that in the form of our governments panicking and trying to get control over the reins of the chaotic forces of the internet. But they probably won't succeed. They probably will just end up making the internet a much worse place to be than it already is.
If we have children, then like the internet that they grow up with will be significantly different.
Our kids are going to have Luddite childhood. They're not having any technology.
But what if
at
they've
all.
got to sign in for school?
They're going to go to like a Steiner school.
Are they?
Yeah.
Have you decided this already?
Yeah. I've got the plan in my head already. They're going to go to like a Waldorf Steiner school.
You're going to send them to Hogwarts.
Yeah, pretty much. That's where they're going. From the moment they are toddlers, they're gonna get sent to Steiner Hogwarts.
Half of the Americans just went, did he say they're going to send us? Is that a real place? It's not.
It's not, the way. It's not real. Well, right. Folks, it was lovely talking to you this week. We will catch you again next week to dissect the world of tech and the crazy shit going on in the world, and also keep an eye out for Depth Diaries, because there's going to be a new one soon. So keep an eye out on my other channel, Depth Diaries, and go subscribe there if you haven't already.
And I have my performance from the Night Cafe up hopefully by the end of the week. I'm waiting for the other video for them to send over for me to edit, so I've got 2 angles in the video of the performance, so it doesn't just have the one angle that I got.
Thanks for sharing. See you later. Bye.